Get your reactions ready. The live portion of the show will begin in just a moment. Today is Wednesday, August 9th. It's the finale of the three-game set between the Yankees and the White Sox from Chicago. Luis Severino did not make the start tonight. Ian Hamilton was in his place. My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is NYY Recaps.
Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Welcome back, everybody. I thought the Roaring 20s would be a bit more roaring than this for the Yankees, old sport. Another humiliating loss. Check that. Another humiliating series loss. Lori C. says it best. Sickening. It's clear now, if it wasn't 9 days ago, that the Yankees should have sold whatever assets they had left at the deadline. Bader, if they could have got anything for Severino, for Peralta, Torres, they should have done it. Because now the Yankees look like they're in a dead man spiral. You got guys dropping right and left. Rodon, LeMahieu. And I think you can officially say that Aaron Boone is on the chopping block when this is all said and done. Today we got the first indications that that might be true. And tonight I think we got him 1 day closer to both he and his buddy Sean Casey being back on ESPN next season, or MLB Network, or whatever. Gary says, you have a hard job this season. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. Few things worth discussing before we get to tonight's recap. First is that DJ was scratched before the game with calf tightness. He had been heating up a little bit over the past couple of weeks, so just our luck. Not surprising at all, though. He's broken down probably, 4 years in a row now? Not surprising at all. Right around this time, too. I suspect that as the season winds down, as we saw in the early part of the last decade, when the Yankees were out of it late in the season, you're going to see more guys going on the injured list. They're going to be dropping like flies. The only positive is that could mean some opportunities for some of our younger guys, like Oswald Peraza, Everson Pereira. Pereira had another home run tonight. Dominguez hitting .441 in August, so he might be ready to go to AAA. And with the promotion of somebody like Pereira, that would open up a spot. The other thing we have to talk about is the report from Bob Klapisch, who I actually think is a fairly decent reporter. Sometimes, he's spotty with his results, but all reporters are. But I believe he was one of the co-authors of Inside the Empire, so he's got sources. And you just hope that this one is wrong. He said that Cashman's job is in no jeopardy. No matter what. No matter what the outcome, Cashman's job is safe. And that's concerning to me. But the other thing that was reported that's even more concerning is that Hal Steinbrenner doesn't seem to want to be involved with the Yankees, that he had to be talked into taking over the Yankees kicking and screaming. Here, take this $7 billion franchise. I don't want it! Ah! Give it to me, I'll do it. Promise you, we would see better results. It's obviously concerning that Steinbrenner doesn't want to be involved. I don't think any fans would hold it against him. I know I wouldn't. If he sold the team to like a hedge fund or something, there's nothing wrong with selling your assets. If you're not interested in it, your heart's not in it. We, as New Yorkers, we want our ownership to be hands-on like Steve Cohen. We want them to be fans, to be representatives of us. And I don't think if you ask any Yankee fan, they would say that Hal Steinbrenner is a representation of them. The fact that he doesn't know why we're upset, or he didn't in June, should by now, just tells you how disconnected he is from the emotions of the fan base. I want an owner who's going to share our emotions. And if it has to be the owner of a hedge fund, then so be it. Those guys typically didn't get to be the top like that without being at least somewhat competitive and savvy. Wouldn't it be nice to see the Yankees have unlimited resources again? Frankie says he'd give it to Elon. Don't care that he ruined Twitter. Well, until he renames the Yankees Q or some shit. Or R or whatever. He likes to name his things with like the S and the... I think the Teslas were Model S, Model... is it Model 3? Model X and Model Y, so it spells sexy on the website. That's the type of shit that Elon does. The other part of the report that was relevant is that Aaron Boone's job could be on the line. Especially if the Yankees finish in last place or second to last place. I think that's fair. It's not even really about his bullpen management to me or the constant lineup changes, even though both of those things are aggravating. To me, it's more about putting the positive spin on everything. Even John Sterling tonight was mocking him. I had to take the dogs out probably around 8:45. That's when they go out for their final tinkle over the night. And I was listening to Sterling because I couldn't watch the TV, and he was talking about how Boone always is positive about everything. Oh, we struck out 18 times, but we had great at-bats. Our starting pitcher gave up 7 runs, but his stuff was fantastic. Come on. Don't gaslight us. That's blatant gaslighting. That has no place in New York. The fan base is too educated. We've seen too much. We've seen too many different characters come in here. We're not going to fall for that. My guess is that Boone will lose his job. But if Cashman remains, I don't think we're going to see much of a different ball club next year. I think the next step is a different voice in the room and a different coaching staff. And maybe that works, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Too many problems with fundamentals. We saw that tonight. Just bad pitching. One final thing worth noting is that, Severino was supposed to start tonight, but they went with an opener, which tells you how far Severino has fallen over the last several years. And we'll get to him, I promise. I promise. We're going to get to Severino. Jake Bauers led off the game with a base hit, but was thrown out for the first out of the game at third base. Remember, never make the first out at third or the last out at third. And the Yankees have done this constantly this year. This is what I mean with the fundamentals. That's a fundamental thing about baseball. You want to hear about analytics and stats and all percentages and all that stuff? That's one of the oldest ones. That's why they invented that rule. Because if you get thrown out at third base with nobody out, you don't gain much of an advantage. Like if you had stayed at second base, right? You have 3 chances, 3 outs to score. And if you get thrown out at third base to end the inning, you're basically running yourself out of an inning. When you're 1 hit away from scoring. You're already in scoring position. So just more bad fundamentals. Ian Hamilton looked good, pitched a scoreless first inning, and then the Yankees went to Luis Severino in the second. And God, he was awful. He was terrible. Immediately gave up a leadoff double to Yoan Moncada. Moncada came around to score on a single, and then he gave up a 2-run home run to make it 3-0.
Don't fail me again.
From there on out, things just got worse.
And yes, somehow things just keep getting worse for Severino. I don't know how you can keep running him out there at this point. It's like when Bernie Williams was hitting 9th as a rookie or whatever, they said, can't get much lower. Can't get any lower. Next stop is the bench. Next stop for Severino. I mean, this was technically a bullpen appearance. Next spot for Severino is mop-up guy while he finishes out his contract. And I think you have to pull that plug right now. I think he's done. Gave up another run in the third to make it 4-0. I've been watching the Yankees for a long time. I've been watching them for a long time now, guys. And, I remember watching my first game in 1987. And I can remember a lot of pitchers. I've been blessed with a very good memory for baseball stuff and baseball statistics. And I don't remember many pitchers who have been as bad as Severino who have gotten this many chances. Keiagawa was bad, but he got demoted. Irabu was bad when he first got to the Yankees, but Steinbrenner donated all of his Irabu t-shirts to the Sisters for the Blind charity and then demoted him to the bullpen. Cone had a terrible year, his final year with the Yankees. I believe he was 4-14 with a 6 ERA, something like that. That's the closest thing I could think of. Phil Hughes also, I believe, went 4-14 in his final year. Again, not good. Went to the Twins and pitched better. But none of them had an 8.06 ERA, which is what Luis Severino has right now.
Emotional damage.
I'm an average nobody.
Yankees played some ugly defense in the fifth inning. Gleyber Torres played a ball off to his side instead of getting in front of it, and the ball got through. Didn't take the best hop, but the reason you play the ball in front of you on that is just in case it takes a bad hop. Then you can still knock it down with your body and get the out. You see what happens when you don't. All season long, problems with fundamentals. And just more of that tonight. Now, maybe that is Boone. Maybe they didn't stress fundamentals enough in spring training. Maybe the coaching staff isn't pounding it out enough in the pregame rituals. Maybe they need some good old-fashioned infield-outfield practice, bunt defense practice. Maybe they just need some practice in general. Scott Braun says there's a massive ownership problem, by far the biggest problem in the sport. And he says, bring back Davey Garcia. Don't think Davey's going to fix it there, Scott. Giancarlo had an okay night. He drove in a couple of runs. Second one was a line drive home run. He also had a ground out that drove in a run. 18th home run of the season. Yankees loaded the bases with nobody out after the Stanton home run in the 7th, but were unable to get a run out of it. I mean, how many times have we seen the bases left loaded this year? Especially in the last week, it seems like they're loading the bases every other inning, and they just don't get the big hit. Horrible strikeout looking from Oswaldo Cabrera, fastball right down the middle, and then Higashioka bounced into a 4-6-3 double play. And as for Cabrera, he's been one of the more disappointing players for me this year. From my perspective, I thought he was going to be great. Switch hitter, got off to a really good start last year, hit a home run in the playoffs, was great defensively, fun personality, ton of energy, took the clubhouse by storm last year. He was one of the more popular players at the Fan Fest. And it was obvious last year that he had two major holes in his swing. The league was not exploiting it to the max last year. Up and in fastball, above the hands, couldn't get it, and down and in slider. Back foot slider. And he couldn't adjust. You figured during the offseason he'd work with Dylan Lawson, they'd get it ironed out. But apparently the answers weren't on the iPad because he never fixed it. I keep hoping that Sean Casey can work with some of the younger guys, work with Cabrera, work with Volpe, get these guys going in the right direction. But we're running out of time, and he might not be here much longer. White Sox exploded for 4 more runs in the bottom of the 8th, and stick a fork in the Yankees. They are done.
I'm a loser.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And I'm open to movie talk. I'm open to whatever you want to talk about tonight. If you guys don't want to talk about the game, I understand. NYY Recaps is sponsored by Game Time, the fastest growing ticket app in the world for a reason. Download the Game Time app to your phone or smart device, or go to gametime.co, but it's better on the app. Get the app. You can get last-minute tickets to all your favorite types of events: baseball, basketball, football, boxing, bowling. Maybe not bowling. But you can use the code NYY Recaps for $20 off of your first purchase. Game Time. Lowest price on last-minute tickets. Guaranteed. Tommy Higgs says this team is cooked. Got to say, I agree. Lou Ram says 5.5 games under the final wild card spot. Time to close the books on the season. It's not looking good, guys. I try not to sugarcoat things. I'm not feeling great about this. But, look, every team misses the playoffs once in a while. That's not what bothers me. I mean, it bothers me. On a fan level, it bothers me. It's going to take a month of my income away because I don't get to do this show during the playoffs, which is generally a really good time. Maybe we'll do some playoff recaps. Who knows? But what bothers me is the continued fundamental problems. What bothers me is years and years of reliance on right-handed hitters. We mentioned this stat last week. In 2009, the Yankees were number one in at-bats taken by left-handed hitters. In this season, they are 28th. Last year, 29th. Year before that, 29th. That's just unacceptable. In a stadium built for left-handed hitters, you've just got to do better. Robert Ryan says, I don't know about y'all, but I get better at bowling the more I drink. You know, I am terrible at bowling. I'm really good at a lot of different sports. Like I was a pretty good baseball player. I'm an excellent tennis player. I probably could have been a college tennis player if I had played, tennis in high school. I was playing baseball and tennis was during the same time, so I couldn't play both. I was an excellent tennis player. Pretty good at ping pong. Never had a clue bowling. I think the highest bowling score I ever got was in the 90s. Awful at bowling. Kathy says, rewatch the Bad News Bears. We rewatch that every night. Zachary Bass says, in 2009, we had 4 or 5 switch hitters in the lineup as well. That's one thing that got my hopes up about Oswaldo that we were talking about earlier. Switch hitter. Yankees don't have a lot of switch hitters. Dominguez, another reason I'm a big fan of Dominguez as a prospect, is I know how valuable switch hitters can be. I watched that 90s dynasty. I saw Bernie. I saw Posada. We saw Chili Davis. These guys were so valuable to the team because it takes moves away from your bullpen. Robert says, those skills would probably be perfect for pickleball, bro. You are not the first person to recommend pickleball to me. I played tennis with a guy on my baseball team, a big crafty left-handed pitcher in his 40s. One day after I retired from baseball, he and I got together, we played tennis, and he's raving about pickleball, and he says, you would be excellent at pickleball. I don't even know what it is. I've got to YouTube it, but I like that you're the second person who's recommended that to me. So if anybody else knows about pickleball, tell me. If somebody plays pickleball in North Carolina, tell me. We can play. Albert says, can we talk about the offseason? Who's coming off the books, and what have we got to work with? Well, you don't have a ton coming off the books, unfortunately. Severino's coming off the books. Harrison Bader's coming off the books, but they might try and re-sign him because Brian Cashman loves him. Traded Jordan Montgomery to get him. Personally, I think it's time to unload as much as you can off the books and go with the youth movement. I would rather watch Peraza play and, maybe Peraza at short next year, Volpe at second, IKF at third even, until Sweeney's ready. Maybe switch Sweeney over to third base in the minor leagues. He's at AA next year. He could be at AAA. Get him ready, and he can take over for IKF. IKF is also a free agent this year. I think they will re-sign him because they like his flexibility, and also he can pitch. He's a position player who's not afraid to get in there and pitch. Doug says also, don't forget Tim Raines, excellent switch hitter. Man, he went on a run in 97 that was unbelievable. He was on one of those Matt Carpenter runs when he first came back off the IL. It might have been 96. But, yeah. STS says we should bring Tanaka back. Masahiro Tanaka is probably one of my all-time favorite Yankees. And we'll switch over screens while we talk about him. Again, reminder to get the Game Time app. Tanaka, we were talking about him. Well, I wasn't, but they were talking about him on Foul Territory today. About how he was one of those guys who 11 or 12 games into his career. I think he was 11-1 with a 1.99 ERA. He had just shut out the Mets. And then he had a tough game against the then Indians, the now Guardians. And after the game, you found out that he had some elbow discomfort. He was placed on the IL. He had a partially torn UCL. Everybody thought he was going to get Tommy John. And everybody said, well, get the surgery now because it's going to pop at some point over the next 7 years. Why not just have it, miss a year, and come back at full strength? And he said, no, I'm going to rehab it. He got stem cells injected, and then he rehabbed it, and he made it back that season. And he never had Tommy John surgery. The one guy. Scott's still here. Scott, how you doing? Let's get a round of applause for Scott. MLB Network, Facebook former broadcaster, and now the host of Foul Territory. Shout out. And Frankie Baseball. Shout out to Frankie for joining me the other night. We haven't gotten to mob movies yet tonight, but maybe we will. Chrissy says, pickleball is awesome. It's like ping pong, but on a tennis level. Super fun. I mean, I would love to try it. I'm looking, the other day I was sitting on my couch and I was watching a movie and I was thinking about, I'm 40 now. I'm probably not going to live too much longer. I had just been reading an article about somebody who seemed pretty fit that dropped dead at like 58 of heart disease. And I was thinking, I should probably take up an activity so that I can live longer. But then I thought about it for a minute and I was like, nah. Alejandro says, bring back Jeter, Damon, A-Rod, Teixeira, and Cano. Maybe first of all, I don't think they're ever going to bring A-Rod back because he sued the team. So under the current management, I doubt it. But I would love to see Jeter get involved in the front office somehow. I would love to see Damon come back as some kind of an instructor, that type of thing. Damon was an unbelievably underrated player for the Yankees. Let's take a look at Johnny Damon's career stats. He was on this podcast back in year one. He's one of my all-time favorite players. And I was at a game in 2008 where he went 6 for 6 and walked the game off. So we're going to take a look at Johnny Damon's career stats here and highlight the seasons he was with the Yankees. Oops, I highlighted too many. He was only with the Yankees 4 years, and 2006 through 2009. 285, 270, 303, and 282. Hit 24 homers twice. Played a ton of games. I mean, every year you pencil him in for 140-plus games. Left-handed hitter. Played a good center field. Johnny Damon was not appreciated by this team. Let's take a look at that 2009 team. Let's relive some of the glory days since things are not looking up right now. Look at some of the wars. Jeter, 6.6. Sabathia had a great year. Teixeira rocking the Texas hat in his baseball reference picture. AJ with the Marlins hat. Remember when AJ broke that car window that was driving by when he was warming up? Nuts. But if you look at the switch hitters, I mean, you got Posada, Teixeira. You got Melky. I forgot about Melky Cabrera. He had a solid year, 274. Swisher was a switch hitter, 29 home runs that year. And Matsui, super clutch. Look at all the RBIs on this team. 122 from Teixeira, 100 from A-Rod, 85 from Cano, 81 from Posada. Matsui has 90. Now let's go look at the 2023 team. And keep in mind, this is through yesterday. They don't have today's update. Nobody with 50 RBIs on the ball club on August 9th. Batting averages, 228, 244, 269, 211. It's absurd. Righty, lefty, righty, 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 switch. Lefty, righty, lefty, sucks. Lefty, has been. Righty, switch, sucks. Lefty, sucks. Righty, lefty, sucks. Like, can we get some decent lefties this offseason, please? Pretty please? All right, let's wrap it up.
Game over, man. It's game over.
I gotta get out of here.
AJ Burnett going to be on the Foul Territory podcast. So if you don't follow Foul Territory, they're awesome, first of all. Live every day. But we also have Legends Territory, and tonight there was a premiere of Mark McGwire. And Mark McGwire, I'm dying to watch this. I have not watched the interview yet. Talking about his career and especially that 98 season, the home run chase and stuff. Comments on Aaron Judge and his chase. But I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be my wind down tonight. But thanks to everybody who stuck with the Yankees through this entire game, even though it was abysmal. And we will catch you after Friday night's game. Pete Simonetti is going to be with me on Friday night. Yankees play the Marlins. It's at 6:40 p.m., so you're looking at probably like a 9:30 post game, so tune in then. Tomorrow night, I am going to finally see Oppenheimer again on the IMAX screen. Can't wait. Until next time.
Ball game over.
Most impressive.